All right, today we're jumping into one of the most personal, emotional, and frankly raw documents from the ancient world, and that's the Apostle Paul's second letter to the church in Corinth. Now, this is not some calm theological essay. Oh no, this is a letter written right in the heat of battle. It's a defense of a ministry that's on the verge of collapsing and just a passionate plea to fix a broken relationship. To really get to the heart of this letter, we have to start with a question that's just deeply human. Imagine this. You found a community. You pour years of your life into it. You see these people as your own family. And then you get word that they've turned on you, that they're questioning your integrity, your character, everything you stand for. That's the exact crisis that sparked this letter. So this really lays out the central conflict. Paul, who is literally the spiritual father and founder of this community in Corinth, is now on the outside looking in. He's been pushed away by his own children, who've been totally swayed by these new voices and have started to really mistrust him. And what's at stake here isn't just Paul's reputation, it's the very core of the message he brought them in the first place. So how did things get this bad? Let's kind of trace how this relationship fell apart. It all starts out great, right? Paul founds the church around AD 51. But later, problems start bubbling up and Paul makes what he calls a sorrowful visit. And it did not go well. He was publicly shamed and the relationship just fractured. So in response, he sends what he calls a severe letter, which we don't have anymore, it's lost, basically calling them to repent. And finally, around AD 56, he gets word that, hey, most of them have repented, but there's still this hostile minority. So he writes this letter to Corinthians to try and heal the rift once and for all. Okay, so to understand Paul's powerful defense, we first have to really get a handle on the brutal charges he was up against. What exactly was the case that people in Corinth were making against him? The indictment was just brutal and super personal. His opponents claimed that, in person, he was weak, unimpressive. And his speaking style, they said it was dull, not like the polished, sophisticated speakers they admired. They thought he seemed fickle because he kept changing his travel plans, which to them was a sign of unreliability. And maybe the most damning charge of all was that he suffered all the time. To them, a true apostle should be triumphant, not constantly afflicted. They were even whispering that his refusal to take payment from them was all part of some shady financial scam to line his own pockets through a collection for the poor. And get this, Paul brilliantly quotes his critics' own words right back at them. See, they had created this caricature of him, that he was meek and mild face-to-face but acted like a tough guy in his letters. Basically, they were calling him a keyboard warrior, all talk from a distance but weak in person. So who was fanning all these flames? Well, a group of new rival teachers had shown up in Corinth, and they were everything Paul wasn't. They were eloquent, charismatic. They came with letters of recommendation, and they were always boasting about their spiritual experiences. Paul gives them a sarcastic nickname, the super apostles. You can almost think of them as valuing a flashy, polished image over any real substance or authenticity. So facing this total onslaught, Paul doesn't defend himself in any way you'd expect. He doesn't start trading boasts or try to one-up his rivals. No. Instead, he launches a defense that is so radical, so completely counterintuitive, that it turns their entire value system completely on its head. He launches a defense of weakness itself. And this just shows you the clash of two totally different value systems. On one side, you have the super apostles boasting in everything the world respects: wisdom, great speeches, credentials. Paul's response is to just flip the script entirely. He basically says, you want me to boast? Okay, I'll boast in my shipwrecks, my beatings, my sleepless nights. He boasts in his weaknesses. Now, don't mistake this for self-pity. This is a profound theological argument. Paul is claiming that his human weakness, his suffering, this jar of clay as he calls himself, is actually the perfect container to display a treasure that isn't his own, the power of God. And right here, this is the heart of the entire letter. This is its central thesis. This is Paul quoting what he says God told him directly. True spiritual power isn't about getting rid of weakness. It's made perfect in our weakness. And this is the paradox that his audience in Corinth, and especially his rivals, just could not get their heads around. This paradox creates what some scholars call a two-beat rhythm that you see running through the whole letter. For Paul, the Christian life isn't just a straight line to victory. It's this constant pattern. Death leads to life, affliction leads to glory, and human weakness becomes the stage for divine strength. And as we're about to see, this rhythm doesn't just shape his theology, it shapes the entire emotional structure of the letter itself. So this core theme, finding strength in weakness, it isn't just some abstract idea. It actually provides the emotional blueprint for the entire letter. Let's take a look at how Paul actually structures his argument. This chart gives us a fantastic roadmap. You can see the letter isn't just one big block of text. It's split into 3 very distinct sections, and each one has a different feeling and a different tone. It moves from talking about past misunderstandings to a present financial project, and then finally to a future-focused confrontation. So let's break down these shifting roles Paul plays. In chapters 1 through 7, he's the peacemaker. His tone is forgiving, it's grateful, he's celebrating that the majority have come around. Then, in chapters 8 and 9, he kind of puts on his fundraiser hat. He's urging them to complete this collection for the poor as a real, tangible sign of their restored faith. But then, the tone shifts, dramatically. In the final section, chapters 10 to 13, Paul becomes the fighter, and he directly confronts the holdouts and those super apostles with some really sharp sarcasm and some stern warnings. So after walking through all the charges, the defense, and this whole emotional journey of the letter, what's the lasting takeaway? Well, it all comes back to the power of its central paradox. Ultimately, this isn't just about some ancient church dispute. It's a timeless defense of authenticity over image. It's a powerful argument that true leadership isn't measured by polish or charisma or having a perfect track record. It's measured by integrity, by love, and by a willingness to be vulnerable. Paul's own life becomes this living demonstration of his theology. He shows us that true, resilient strength isn't found by avoiding hardship or by projecting this perfect image. No, it's discovered right in the middle of our weakness and our suffering, where something greater than us has room to work. And that leaves us with a question to really think about. In a world that prizes success, image, and self-sufficiency, Paul's message kind of forces us to ask, what do we count as strength? And what do we so easily dismiss as weakness? Where does true strength really come from?